past week debuted on AMC, and we'll start there. TNA Impact Thursday debuted over there on AMC. The first time they're on such a big network since they were on Spike TV back in the day. I'm going to ask you, Brandon, what did you make of the debut? And more importantly, because we talked about this with the Netflix debut of WWE, is there anything that you need to see going forward to make it so that this is actually a good product sustainably? Or do you think if they just do what they do on their debut over and over and over again, this will be a worthwhile venture for AMC?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that they definitely need to do, and I don't think it's officially like done. I think it was a one-off. Is I think Bully Ray needs to be on commentary full time like that. Like that to me was probably one of the better things that I saw for the debut on AMC. Like he really like just having somebody of his ilk, being well renowned in the business, winning championships solo and as a tag team. He knows the business. He's been on, obviously I know you listen to Sirius XM's Busted Open. He's very good at talking. He's always been a great talker. So that was one of the things that I enjoyed most was listening to him call the match, talk about it, and obviously try to put these competitors over. Now, the main event was good. I really enjoyed Santana and Kazarian. Always been a fan of both of those guys, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, just, going through it, I felt some of the production was a little meh, and, listening to, different people in the business and just following it, just kind of seeing where people are tracking. It's, there was more thumbs down than thumbs up, and it was kind of a meh kind of show. Like, I mean, a lot of people have it and they like to see, if you want to grade it, like I'm not a big fan of the grades, so to speak, but a lot of people are putting it in that C-, that C range. It was what it was. There was too many commercials. That was another thing a lot of people were complaining about. And if you were watching it on the streaming side, not the actual AMC channel, I guess there were some technical issues there as well. So I think the whole synopsis of it is I want to see better in-ring action overall because the main event was good. I enjoyed Elijah and the Hardys versus the Order 4. But other than that, it was like commercials, and then we had like just different segments. I'm looking forward to seeing Sonya Deville, now known as Daria. I think I got that right. Daria, I think it is. I'm looking forward to seeing what she's got next. The former Cora Jade made her debut as Atlanta Black. So the women's division, I think, could be interesting, but this was not. I think they botched it. I think it was a botched.
Here's my issue with this show. They put it on the day before a big pay-per-view. Like Genesis is actually one of their bigger pay-per-view events, and a lot of matches were already made for that. And it's the day before that pay-per-view event. I think this could have served better the following week. And one thing that I hate, and I saw them kind of do this with the Netflix debut and other things like this, when you move to a new network and your ideas behind it are that you're going to get new eyeballs, they have this weird perception that I disagree with, that they move to these bigger networks and people who've never watched pro wrestling before are all of a sudden going to fall in love with it. It's happened before. It's happened with me. That's how I'm a fan. Literally, SmackDown is why I'm here today, because it showed up on a channel and that was put in front of me when I had never watched wrestling before. Okay. So it is possible for that to happen. And I think a good way to do that is not have a championship match as your main event. Because as we know, part of wrestling is not about the what, it's the why, right? And if you make it so that you put it all out there in episode number 1, it makes it so that you fall flat in episode number 2. You need to make episode number 1 really episode part 1 of a longer saga. I think, and this doesn't just go for TNA, who did this, because they had obviously the championship match, Mike Santana. It was essentially like the Bound for Glory redo, so that people who didn't buy Bound for Glory can watch Mike Santana become the champion again. I feel like they had him lose the title only for him to just get it on this debut episode. What you do is you show Mike Santana, you show Frankie Kazarian, and I know that they had a match at the pay-per-view. That's why this is all such bad timing, because they were literally going to fight again at Genesis. But you have them come out on the debut, and you introduce who they are and why you should care. And then you put off the finality of their feud to future episodes, right? You gotta come in at the ground floor. When I watched SmackDown for the very first time, it wasn't Rock and Stone Cold one last time. We're gonna finish this feud because I don't know who the Rock and Stone Cold are. I need to learn who they are and why I would care when they fight. So I think that is just my critique, and it wasn't a critique that you have to like really dig deep into this episode, but it's just I think when you lead off an episode on a new network and a new show with your championship on the line or titles on the line, period. I'm not a big fan of that because I'm more of a fan of introducing who these characters are and why their championships matter. And then if you get invested, then next week we're going to pay this off. I mean, when I first watched SmackDown for the very first time, I didn't see any world championships change hands or anything like that. That's when I learned about pay-per-view because I was like, well, when are we going to get these feuds? And that's when they introduced me to, well, you're going to buy No Mercy this week. What is No Mercy? How do you gotta feed them, right? You can't just give them the buffet and then say, oh, next week is actually not even going to be as good as this. You got to string them along, right? You got to make it just like when you watch any show, they don't give you the series finale in episode 1, right? You got to put the breadcrumbs out there of why I care about who Mike Santana is. If your idea is, I've never heard of Mike Santana, I don't know him from a hole in the wall, I'm not interested in the Hardy Boys, I've never heard of them before, I don't know anything about them, then I don't really care that they're the champions or that they're chasing the championship. So you got to really do better when it comes to first episodes. And that's kind of why, I mean, we saw that with Netflix and Monday Night Raw last year, right? They put it all out there. A lot of people got interested, but I don't see those same people on ESPN who are talking about it, who are in front row at the Intuit Dome. I'm not hearing them and seeing their tweets weekly about wrestling like I did the night after they went to the Netflix debut.
No, here's the thing. I mean, I see your point, but I think it's cool that there was a championship in the debut. I think that's a nice added bonus to and here's the thing. I get that, the first time you ever watched it, it was, non-titles, it was a regular old SmackDown. But I think we're in a different generation.
I don't think it was a regular old SmackDown. I'm not saying that this was a debut, but you had to kind of teach me why I care. Remember, titles are just props.
Here's what I would say.
Care.
Here's what I would say though. I would counter that by saying, like, oh, they're going to give me a title match on the first night. Like, that's going to be like the way to hook them in. Like, I think with this generation, like it's a generational thing. Like, you and I are a lot different than the kids that are, my kids' age or a little bit older, teenagers. They want instant gratification. And if you're not going to give it to them right away, they're just going to go find another app or find another thing to watch, maybe on TikTok or whatever the new app is. Like, so in that case, I think it was good in this situation to do it. But also at the same time, I get your point, because then the expectation might be, oh, we're going to get titles every single week. Like, I get that part of it. But I think for a debut to try to hook people in, I think you got to showcase the best of the best. And they did with Santana and Kazarian, who are two really good wrestlers who have been around the business a long time. And to me, that was a great way to cap off what otherwise was a black kind of a night, like a meh. Like it to me, it fell flat. Like, there were some things I liked and there were some things I didn't like. Like, I will give them credit. You might know this better than me, because you know a lot of the intricacies that I maybe not pay attention to. But have you ever seen an advertisement for an injury report? Because I've never seen one on a wrestling show. Have you?
No, I don't think I have.
But they made money off of that. That's cool. They got an advertisement out of it. So there were things that I liked that were different than what I'm used to. And I thought that part was cool. I thought like I said, Bully Ray was fun to watch. But I thought the entire, if you put the entire thing together, this was not a way to draw fans in. I believe the number was like 200,000. I think it was.
I heard 90,000.
Oh, I heard it. See, I heard over 200,000 that tuned in. So, I mean, regardless, how many of those are coming back next week? Like that's what we're going to have to wait and see, because if the pulse of the internet wrestling community, the different influencers, the people in the business, if they're getting a pulse of it and they're saying, hey, that wasn't so good, the numbers probably won't be good going forward. So I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like that's where we're going right now, and it's kind of sad.
I mean, you got to look at it, 90,000 people. If that was a pay-per-view event, and obviously people, when they buy pay-per-views, traditionally, not everyone's watching individually. They group up together and they watch it as a group. So traditionally, if 90,000 people are watching it, or even 200,000 people are watching it, that's realistically more around 50,000 pay-per-view buys. And 50,000 pay-per-view buys would be the lowest in the history of the WWE. I mean, their lowest one that December to December was 90,000 pay-per-view buys. So realistically, if you think
Did you
that
buy
every
that
one of those households is 2 or 3 people,
Wait,
there's
did
at
you
least
buy that one?
300,000. What's
Did you
that?
buy the December?
I did not. I watched it live at Hooters for free. So I think I paid. That was back in the day when you had to go out. You had to find those quote unquote blast areas, they called them. That was a dumb name for all the areas. There was a website, the WWF.com/blast areas.
And they would tell you, like, hey, you want to go, if you want to catch the show and you don't want to pay for it full price, go get some wings at Hooters.
Yes, and then turned into Buffalo Wild Wings. And, I was always jealous, obviously, because New York City, there's like an endless list. There's a place on every single block. And this is back in the day. It's not like today where we just watch it on our phones in the luxury of our homes. I mean, it was literally like if you lived in New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago or one of these big cities, it was like watching any sporting event. There was a bar in every block. But in where I live, there's one or two. And God forbid if I lived in Vermont, that's just, you're not doing that. New Hampshire, Maine, or one of these kind of places, they just don't.
You're going to have to buy it the old fashioned way.
Yeah, so buy it the old fashioned way. But, and part of the reason why you just can't buy it the old fashioned way is because specifically with that pay-per-view, it took place like a week after another pay-per-view, which was Survivor Series, and a week before another pay-per-view, which was Armageddon. So, I mean, if I wasn't doing it this way where I'm going, every other Sunday, yeah, you're not buying those events. That's why those pay-per-views had such low buy rates, is because you have $40 this week and $40 the next week and such. But, I just think overall, part of the reason why we're not interested in tag team matches as a main event, to see, just a usual Cody Rhodes teaming up with such and such to take on such and such, is because we watch wrestling every single week. But to someone who never watches wrestling, I mean, look, think about somebody who never watches wrestling. You probably watched wrestling with somebody who's never watched wrestling before, and they're giddy as all hell watching a luchador tag team match that they've never heard of any of these people before, because it's literally something they've never seen before. And I guess that's what I just try to get at, is you don't get them things that matter to wrestling fans. Yeah, tag team matches don't matter much. Title matches matter. But if you're trying to bring in people who aren't wrestling fans, they will be excited to see this other stuff because they've never seen it before, and you will lure them in, and then they will be, I guess, conditioned to then that carrot down the line of what they're really interested in. But you got to kind of get them interested, because again, to non-wrestling fans, the title's not important at all, right? To non-wrestling fans, they don't know nothing about who the world champion is, what makes them the world champion, or why that even matters. Because as Vince Russo always said, it's just a prop, right? It's just a prop because we got to have a reason why you are fighting, and we can't always just have it because you don't like each other. But yeah, overall, we'll see how they follow up, and we'll see how AMC, hey, Collision's still on the air. That's all I can say to that. Collision's still on the air. So, and it's been many years. So we'll see exactly.
Collision doesn't do great numbers either, obviously. So,
but it's still on the air on national television.